He grew up in a place where books were rare but excuses were everywhere. People around him believed success was luck, destiny, or something reserved for others. He believed something different, even before he could explain it. He believed that knowledge was a quiet weapon, one that didn't make noise when you picked it up, but changed the outcome of every battle afterward. As a child, he watched men twice his age complain about life while repeating the same mistakes every year. He noticed a pattern before he learned the word for it: those who knew more suffered less, and those who refused to learn stayed stuck. This realization didn't come from a classroom. It came from observation, from listening more than speaking, from asking questions no one around him cared to answer. He didn't have mentors, so he studied people instead. He studied why some rose and others fell. He studied why effort without direction led to exhaustion, while effort guided by understanding led to results. When he failed, and he failed often, he didn't curse fate. He searched for missing information. Every setback became a lesson, every loss became data. While others chased shortcuts, he chased clarity. Late nights weren't spent dreaming about success but breaking it down into components: skill, discipline, timing, and knowledge. He learned that motivation fades, but understanding stays. When excitement died, knowledge told him what to do next. When fear appeared, knowledge reminded him of the odds, the process, and the path forward. There were moments when giving up felt reasonable. When progress was invisible and effort felt wasted. In those moments, he returned to learning. A new idea would shift his perspective. A single insight would unlock weeks of confusion. Slowly, almost invisibly, he began operating at a level others couldn't understand. Not because he was smarter, but because he was informed. People started calling him lucky. They didn't see the nights spent reading while others slept. They didn't see him investing in skills instead of comfort, understanding instead of entertainment. They saw the result and assumed magic. He knew better. Success wasn't a miracle, it was accumulated knowledge applied consistently. He learned that confidence doesn't come from loud words but from quiet preparation. That real power isn't domination, but self-mastery. The more he learned, the less he needed validation. The clearer his thinking became, the calmer his decisions were under pressure. Knowledge didn't just change his income or status, it changed his identity. Eventually, he became the person others came to for answers. Not because he knew everything, but because he knew how to learn. He had trained his mind to seek truth over comfort, growth over ego. And that mindset made him unstoppable. He understood one final truth: success is not owned by the strongest or the fastest, but by the one who understands the game deeply enough to play it better every day. Knowledge didn't just lead him to success. It became the reason success followed him wherever he went. As his world expanded, so did his responsibility to himself. Knowledge had opened doors, but it also removed excuses. He could no longer blame circumstances, people, or timing. Every mistake now pointed back to preparation, or the lack of it. This realization was heavy, but it was also freeing. When control returned to him, so did power. He began to structure his days with intention. Mornings were for learning, not scrolling. He fed his mind before feeding his desires. Books replaced gossip. Curiosity replaced complaint. He learned that most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they never sharpen what they already have. He sharpened relentlessly. There were phases when nothing seemed to move. Weeks passed where effort produced no visible reward. Old voices crept back in, whispering doubts, reminding him of easier paths. But knowledge had already taught him patience. He understood compound growth. He knew that roots grow in darkness before trees break the surface. So he stayed consistent when motivation disappeared. He started noticing subtle shifts. Conversations felt different. Problems that once overwhelmed him now looked solvable. Where others reacted emotionally, he responded strategically. Knowledge had slowed his impulses and strengthened his judgment. He learned to pause before decisions, to analyze instead of assume, to think long-term in a world addicted to quick wins. Failure still visited him, but it no longer stayed long. Each failure arrived with a lesson attached. Instead of asking, "Why me?" he asked, "What does this teach?" That single question changed everything. Pain stopped being punishment and became instruction. Loss stopped being an end and became redirection. As opportunities came, he didn't rush. Knowledge had taught him discernment. Not every opportunity was aligned, and not every fast gain was worth the cost. He learned to say no, one of the hardest skills to master. Saying no protected his focus. Focus protected his progress. People began to notice the change, not just in his results but in his presence. He spoke less, listened more. When he did speak, his words carried weight. He didn't argue to win, he explained to clarify. He didn't seek attention, attention found him. This wasn't arrogance, it was certainty built on understanding. He also learned the danger of knowledge without humility. He saw intelligent people sabotage themselves with ego. They stopped learning because they believed they already knew enough. He promised himself never to stop being a student. The moment learning ends, growth dies. So he kept asking questions, even when he became the most knowledgeable person in the room. There were moments when success tested him more than struggle ever did. Comfort tried to slow him down. Praise tried to distract him. But knowledge reminded him that stagnation often disguises itself as stability. He continued pushing forward, not out of fear, but out of respect for his potential. He invested in skills that compounded over time: communication, analysis, discipline, emotional control. These weren't glamorous, but they were powerful. While others chased trends, he built foundations. Trends fade. Foundations last. As years passed, his life no longer revolved around survival. It revolved around impact. He began sharing what he learned, not to impress, but to elevate. Teaching others sharpened his own understanding. Explaining concepts forced clarity. Knowledge multiplied when shared wisely. He watched people change around him. Some grew with him, others drifted away. He accepted both. Knowledge had taught him that not everyone is meant to walk the entire journey with you. Some are lessons, some are chapters, few are lifelong companions. When setbacks returned, and they always do, he welcomed them with calm resolve. He knew storms test structure, not intention. And his structure was strong. Built patiently. Reinforced daily. Designed through learning, not luck. Late at night, when the world was quiet, he reflected on how far he had come. Not in distance, but in depth. He wasn't the same person who once felt powerless. Knowledge had given him vision. Vision had given him direction. Direction had given him momentum. He realized that success wasn't a destination he had reached, but a system he had built. A way of thinking. A way of choosing. A way of responding to life. Knowledge was no longer something he consumed, it was something he embodied. And as he moved forward, one truth guided him. Silently. No matter where life takes him, as long as he keeps learning, he will never be lost again.